Welcome to Re-Educated TV, where we keep you informed. This topic or lesson is quite taboo, and just maybe with some light shed on the matter, we can remove the stigma placed on this particular avatar. We have now come to what I think is the most hated and most misunderstood avatar. He was considered the tyrant among the followers of Ares or the Linga, and he was made to be the devil or an evil figure by the followers of the son of Joseph. But how could this be? What could be the reason for this great God's fall from grace? After all, he was the same as all the other avatars. He was a representation of the sun. Shri, Sir, and Shor was his name. Shri is the prefix and postfix of several words of the East. Sur Shor was the first name given to the river now called the Nile, and also the name of Syria, which came from the word Shurya, the word for sun in the Indus, and the word Shur is a beef, ram, calf, or cow. He was called Bali, where the Mahabalipur got its name. He was called Baltis, where ancient Tibet got its name. Before it was called Tibet, the region was anciently called Baltistan. He was called Roman Rama, the same name given to the Rama of the Indus, and Roma and Rama of Asia Minor, and Rome in Italy. He was called Baal, hence the Baalbek of Syria, which means the temple or palace of Baal. He was called Bel, Belenus, and Belor in the west. He was worshipped among several nations or groups. Let me repeat that. The famous story of the glorious warrior called Hannibal is allegorical. Hannibal is Baal, or Balarama if you like. So is Beli, Belenius, Balam, Belor, Bahal, among other names. It is quite interesting that the Mayan fermented drink made of maize was called Bahal, which was used in religious ceremonies and gatherings. It is also interesting that the Norse called their fermented mix ale, which was the first name given to the Creator. I wonder if all ancient brews had the names of gods. Jesus was said to have turned water into wine. I think water is more healthier than wine, if you should ask me. So there must be a deeper meaning. Wine is also used in communion or Holy Communion, so of course there's a deeper meaning. He was Baal among the Chaldeans and Syrians, and later Pal among the Greeks. He was called Iue among the Jews. Ue are the symbolic letters. Eue joined to the letter I, which was the symbol of the Creator. So the symbol of the Creator was joined to the symbolic letters of Balarama. I will remind my viewers that Mary and Joseph were said to be Jews. So before the birth of their Christ Jesus, Joseph, Mary, the people of Bethlehem, and the surrounding environs were the worshippers of Baal. I will remind my Christian companions that the Jews were worshippers of Thoth, whom they called Tut or Tuatha. They were the worshippers of Thomas, whom they called Adonai or Tammuz, and they were the worshippers of Balarama, whom they called Baal or Iue or Iue, before Mary and Joseph begot baby Jesus. And just to add, these are not my words. I'm paraphrasing. They are words stated by the scriptures. The word Baal seemed to be a root word. The letter L was joined to the words Ba or Ab, Bolim being the plural. In the Hebrew or Chaldean language, we see the word Baal written Bol. The Syrians had constantly had the habit of changing the O into E and the E into O. Thus, with them on the sea coast, it was Bel. These sea coast people were Poleski, who went to Greece, and from there changing the B into P. From these Poleski sailors of Syria came the Bel or Belenos into the west. It is key to note what was just stated. The Greeks were first called Baleski because they were the worshippers of Baal. And after migrating from Syria to Greece, they then changed the B to P in their secret mystic systems, giving you the word Paleski. That is interesting within itself. But what is more interesting is that they first migrated to Greece from Africa under the name of Baleski. In other words, they were first inhabitants of Syria before becoming Greeks, and later returned under Alexander and conquered the region. So they were once Syrians, or Africans if you prefer. And while we are on the Greeks, Apollo of the Greeks was nothing but the name of the Israelitish and Syrian Baal or Baal, with the Chaldean emphatic article prefixed and the usual Greek termination. With that said, the city called Heliopolis in ancient Egypt was the city of Baal, or the word sun and Baal joined. He was called Pul and Pal, Bull and Baal. The words bull and bell came from his name, in which the bull and also the bell and the sound of the bell is considered divine, which can still be seen and heard in many churches. This bell were among the Tibetans, the ancient Christians of Asia Minor, and the ancient Druids, the first Romans who established Rome in the Indus, Asia Minor, and in Italy, in fact, the entire world. The word Rome is the name of Balarama. He was called Rome and Rama, Rome having the meaning of eternal. He was called Baal in Africa because it was said by way of his followers that thou shalt no more call me Bali. Then it was changed yet again to Iue, thou shalt not call thy name in vain, which was not allowed to be spoken in vain. In fact, it was secret. So there is no way he could be the devil. He was worshipped by the ancient Christians, the ancient Jews, the Syrians, Assyrians, Europe and Asia. He was the seventh Buddha, in fact, the seventh cycle, the age of Taurus. He was Apis, the bull of Egypt, the sun in Taurus, the female principle. Krishna represented the male principle. No, the stories of Balarama, Baal, Hannibal, Belenus, Belor, Beli, among other names, are referring to the same mythos. The stories of Belenus, Belor, and Beli is the West or the British Isles version of the story. Hannibal is the African's version, and Balarama the Indus's version, which was the first mythos or the first story of the myth. There are also the stories of Baal, all referring to the first mythos of Balarama. Balarama was said to have gone to war with Krishna. To be more precise, it was Krishna who went to war with his elder brother Balarama. Krishna was the new age or cycle. The age of Taurus ended with Balarama, and the age of Aries started with Krishna. But it is also said that they sided together to save the world. The stories of Baal are the same or similar. In Canaanite mythology, it is said that Baal was depicted in combat with Mot, the god of death and sterility. There is also the Baal cycle, where Yam wants to rule over the other gods and be the most powerful of all. But Baal Hadad opposes Yam and slays him. Remember, ID became IHD among the Jews and further changed to Hadad. The story of Belenus going to war with his younger brother. To be more precise, it was Brennus, the younger brother, who went to war with Belenius. They then afterward came to peace and joined forces to conquer Rome. Is the exact story of Balarama and his younger brother Krishna, who both went to war and then sided to save the world. In the same manner, Hasdrubal and his older brother Hannibal sided together to conquer Rome. It is important to know that these stories are allegorical. Therefore, there are many hidden meanings. The stories of Hannibal, Belenius, Beli, and Belor is also referring to the conquest of Rome and Europe by the worshippers of Balarama, who is also known as Baal, Belenius, Beli, Hannibal, and Belor, among other names. This Balarama, known by several groups, was the seventh avatar, the seventh Buddha of the seventh age. So the African king Belor of the British Isles or Europe is Baal. So that would make the African Fomorians worshippers of the seventh Buddha or Baal. The story of Beli, being the eponymous ancestor of the Brits, is allegorical. The worshippers of Baal or Balarama were the invaders of the British Isles at that time, of which King Ludwig of England was said to be a descendant. So we see that some stories are identical to the original mythos, and others, stories that is, were the same mythos for events that took place long after. Now the worshippers of Baal conquered Africa, Europe, and other regions. But the question is, who were they conquering? I have shown that Balarama was 2000 and odd years before Krishna, and Thomas was also 2000 and odd years before Balarama. When I say 2000 and odd, various cycles are meant. For example, the cycle of 2664 years was the cycle of the ancient Christians. The cycle of 2432 years was the cycle of the Jews, and the cycle of 2400 years was the cycle of modern Christians. So, to return to the followers of Balarama and their conquest, the inhabitants of Africa, Europe, and America were the worshippers of the sixth Buddha, known as Thomas. So the worshippers of Thomas were defeated by the worshippers of Balarama. It was the worshippers of Balarama that conquered Keelan, or Kandy, from the worshippers of Thomas. It was the people of Baal that conquered the people of Thomas in the place now called Jerusalem. The people of Baal conquered the region called Italy and established Rome. They overthrew the followers of Thomas, or they amalgamated. The followers of Thomas were the early Iberians, Italians, French, early Romans. That is before it was called Rome. In fact, they inhabited most of Europe, the Americas. The Mayans, Aztecs, Caribs, and others were followers of Tom or Thomas. They were also followers of Thoth and Balarama. So, of course, they were of the Naros. There is no doubt that the system of the Naros was anciently universal. All the Mesoamerican religions were the same. They were of the Naros, or the system of time, and had the same avatars having the same names, with slight changes, which is expected with distance and time. Can anything be much clearer that the seventh avatar was worshipped around the world? No, Montezuma was said to be a Tangut warrior, and the Tangut, Tamil, and Tamul were of Thomas. The word Karn with an O came from the word Karn, C-A-R-N, another name of Thomas. He was also called Ceres. Both words was later made to mean stone mount. But Ceres is the Hebrew GRS, where the word grass was derived from. Ceres also means grains, or Christ, or Savior. The word Karn, C-A-R-N, had the same meaning in a sense before it became stone mount, or perhaps it had both meanings, because out of the stone mount came the tree of life, or the regeneration. The word Karn, C-A-R-N, is the same as carnate, or incarnate, regenerate, or rebirth. We can return to the etymology of the word Karn, C-A-R-N, at a later date, as this is a segment all by itself. However, it will show how the letter O and A was interchangeable, and thus the word corn, which has the same meaning as regenerator, rebirth, or the savior. This gives a new meaning to the phrase children of the corn. The Mayans were worshippers of Thoth, Thomas, and Balarama, or Baal. Their Karn, with an A, was Hunapu, also known as the maize god or the corn god. Hunapu passed away, but was regenerated by his sons, and returns to life as maize, or corn. The same corns where Thomas was thought to have been buried, in the east. So Hunapu is identified as the regenerating god. But the sons of Hunapu or Hanapu, who had revived him, were the great hero twins, whose names are Hunahpu and Vukub Hunahpu. So according to the myth, or the mythos, Hunahpu, his twin brother Vukub Hunahpu, were demigods, who after the creation of the world began, became proficient in the ball game of the gods. Called Pokatuk, the lords of Xibalba, or ex-Xibalba beneath the earth, became enraged by the noise of the twins, and so devised a plan to get rid of them. They invited the twins to the underworld to play a game of Pokatuk. Before the game could begin, the twins were tricked by ex-Xibalba, who expired the twins. This is nothing but the twins of Gemini, the sixth avatar, the sixth Buddha. Xibalba, as the name implies, is Baal, Baal of the underworld, Baal, Lord of Death, who conquered the twins. Hunahpu was one of the great hero twins in the myths of the Maya in the text of the Kichi work. In the Popol Vuh, he was son of Hunahpu and Exquic. Hunahpu is said to be the god of the evening, who restores the stars of the skies, referring to a new cycle, and with his brother Exbalanque, defeated the lords of Xibalba and created order on earth. This version is the same as Balarama and Krishna, who sided and created order on earth. Hunahpu is associated with the sun, and in some myths, he is the sun himself. In Carib culture, Makunaima and Paya or Pia are Carib culture heroes. They were twin sons of the sun, who helped humankind by ridding the land of monsters. In some Carib traditions, the name Makunaima is instead used as an alternate name for the god Tamusi, who is Tamas or Gemini. In Carib tradition, Tamusi is the creator god and is said to mean the ancient one, and is pronounced Tamusi. He is also called Tamusi Kabatana. Tamusi Kabatana is Thomas, the twins, and Botana is Buddha, the sixth Buddha. Thomas, the sixth avatar, said to mean ancient one of the sky. Do we need any more proof that the Aztecs, Mayans, Caribs, and others were of the system of the Naros and were the worshippers of Thomas, and also Thoth, Balarama, and others? The Arawak mythology tells of the creation of the world by the gods according to their belief. The world was created in several stages, with each stage being governed by a different god, which is nothing but the system of the Naros, with the various cycles and stages, each represented by an avatar or a god. The Arawak system is hidden in their dances, rituals, and way of life, because their system was sacred and secret, and thus misunderstood and taken for witchcraft or obeah, as did most ancient Jews and Christians, right? So if all these tribes were of Thomas, Balarama, and the other avatars of the Naros, that would make them ancient Jews and ancient Christians, which I have already proven in the video on the origin of the Amazon. Now, the first avatar among several nations was Noah. He was Menu or Noe in the Indus. In the British Isles, he was Neol. In Africa, he was Menes. And in the West today, he is Noah. In the Mayan mythology, only 4 Bakabs that survived the flood. The 4 Bakabs became the upholders of the 4 corners of the sky. Now these 4 Bakabs represents Noah and the 3 planets. It is quite interesting that the Mayans had hieroglyphics and not writing, because as I have shown, the art of writing and letters were before hieroglyphics. Writing was in the 5th age and letters were in the 6th age. Hieroglyphics came after. Hieroglyphics were also sacred, similar to Sanskrit, and were used, hieroglyphics that is, to describe or note the various mythos or systems. I am sure that the common Maya was not able to read the Mayan hieroglyphics, similar to the common Egyptian, whom were illiterate to the Egyptians' hieroglyphics. Only the high priests were able to read them because they were sacred and not made for the vulgar or the common man. Some of the religious history we were taught is not even close to the truth. If what I am about to tell you is not known, then that will be proof of what I have stated. The Creator was represented by the ancients with the number 1, then the letter I, and the letter A. I was sometimes written II or IA, which later became Jah when the Jews added the letter H to their systems. IA was iota, Joda, the number 10. Then it followed or it was changed to IE, then IEU, and IEUE by the Greeks. And IEUE is the name of Balarama. No, Balarama is not the creator. Balarama represents the sun, but the idea of creation joined to the I or the creator, I think, is the reason why the ancients acknowledge the avatars as gods or saviors, because the creator and his creation was seen as one. No, the creator's name or the first name given to the creator by man was Ailm, A-I-L-M, the plural Ailim, A-I-L-I-M, which later became Alehim with the letter H added. The name Allah was also derived from the word Ailm. It is quite interesting that all the creators of all the religions' name came from the same root. In other words, they are all worshipping the same creator, just not the same views. Which is the same with the system of the Buddha, where all the various groups are of the same worship, just different views. If this be the case, then no one or no religion is wrong in a sense. I think the problems come in when one tries to force another to their ways and customs, or when one group tries to change the name of the creator with a letter or two to seem different, or the name of the original to distance themselves from the first customs, and having new customs or a mixture of both, which I see in all religions. The Muslims' God is singular, but if we should pluralize it, it would be Allahim. All the answers we really need exist within us. There is no need for books in that regard. But in order to get a glimpse of the past, we need clean, not tainted history, or history that was stepped on. I have discovered for some time now that a tree can be grafted, and therefore an orange tree can grow apples and can appear to be an apple tree to those who are not aware. And if those who are not aware should check the roots of that tree, then they will know that it was and still is a orange tree, even though it does not appear as such. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Take care.